as a company will happily speak to anybody and answer any questions and help you as a family or help you as a golfer to decide whether it's right for you by answering your questions and by making you aware of what it entails. You can find out more information on our website, ProDreamUSA.com, where we're fairly active on social media, particularly through Instagram. So you can follow some of our success stories there and see where our players go. And we also are going to be shortly releasing a number of tournament dates that we're going to have throughout the United Kingdom and Ireland this year. So players of a certain level can enter those events, and we'll hopefully be able to see them on the days for that as well.
So obviously, Meghan, we brought you in, if you like, for your expertise in the sense that you've been through this process. But how important is someone like Brendan there, or the agent that you used to actually get you through this process? Because it's, like you mentioned, that it's not straightforward, is it?
It's very overwhelming, I think, in the beginning. You know, even if you know people that are out in America, like there's still so much choice that it's so different to anything we have in the UK that it's very hard to just know where to start. So it was really helpful for me in terms of that, and it really helped me, I think, narrow down what I was looking for. You know, like what were the things that I wanted to get out of my time in America, and they could kind of point you in the right direction then. And then obviously the second part of it is how to communicate with colleges. Like, you can't just fire off an email to somebody because there's so many rules in place for them in America. Like, they have limits on how they can contact players, and you know, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it's not quite as straightforward as emailing every school that you like the look of and waiting to see who gets back to you. So that, I think that those two things really helped me, you know, just have a bit more of a direction in where I was going to go.
And just from your point of view, Baylie, is the fact that you've had to deal with something completely different that Meghan's had to deal with, in the sense of for a year and a half, there's been something called COVID, which has affected everything, hasn't it? Just describe how that has.
I mean, so many of my competitions that counted towards my European ranking were cancelled or rescheduled to a different time, and then I suddenly couldn't go anymore. So it kind of impacted sort of my scoring averages, which is something that the colleges will go off. And then as you get back into it, there's also that year where you haven't really been able to practice as well. So it's a bit difficult. And
also, you've not even been to the States. I don't know whether, Meghan, had you ever even been to the States before you went out to college?
I had, yeah, only a couple of times. And then I went for one visit to the place that I ended up going to. But again, you know, I know players that went to 5, 6, 7 schools on a visit. So even like that side of things varies a lot by person.
And obviously, so with you then, Baylie, you've had to do this kind of almost blind, in the sense of, so how have they been able to sell it to you, and how have they showed you?
It's kind of been word of mouth, really. So I've spoken to, when I was playing in sort of the England Scottish events, I was talking to other kids at the time that had been out or were out. So I was able to kind of know what it was like for them. But also my agent was super, super cool. I could ask him any questions I had about it, and he'd just give me the answer. And then with the college that I'm going to, they did a tour of the place on Zoom. So I got to see what it all looked like and everything.
So just to give us a bit of a clarification here about Meghan, you went to Florida. Where are you going to, Baylie?
I'm going to Iowa.
So obviously, I know the universities in this country, you know, Cambridge, Oxford are your top 2, and then, you know, you've got a pretty good idea. For someone who's looking out in the States, what is it? Is it a case of, I don't know, is it the sunnier the state, the better the college? How does it work?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's like you have maybe, I would say 10 schools or so that are always consistently, you know, around that like 1 to 10 spot in the rankings, the national rankings. But there also is a lot of fluctuation, like by year, because your ranking can be affected quite dramatically depending on the tournaments you play. And that's something I don't think I was really aware of going in. Like where my school was ranked. Well, I didn't really know what the rankings were. You know, it's just like there's 100, 100 to 200 Division 1 schools. And I was sort of told a Division 1 school is good. Like, if you go to one of those, then you're doing well kind of thing. But there's quite a big difference, I would say, between those like top 20, top 10 schools in terms of the tournaments that they play and the competition that you're against week in, week out. But, that's not for everybody either. So, but like your big ones usually are like Duke, Arizona. So Duke's in North Carolina. There's a couple of good ones in South Carolina, Florida, University of Florida. But even like within Florida, there'll be 10 to 15 places that you could go and play college golf. So it is, like I said at the beginning, it is very overwhelming when you're first looking at everything.
We would say that anyone who wants to ask any questions, as Ian mentioned earlier, then please fire them in now. We have had some in already. Now, someone has said, and actually this can be applied to both of you, but how many offers did you actually have to consider, and why did you pick your specific college then? So for you, first of all, then, Megan.
I actually don't know how many offers I had, to be honest, because I only really spoke in person, I think, to one coach who like came over to watch me play in a tournament. And to be honest, that commitment that he made to coming over to watch me pretty much sold me on the spot. It was like, that's because one of the things that I was kind of advised was make sure you have a good relationship with the coach, because otherwise you're probably not going to enjoy it that much. And even now, whenever I talk to girls who have been through the process and have played 4 years, a lot of them, their experience depends on whether they got on with their coach. And you'd be surprised at how many people don't get on with their coach.
Well, it's fascinating you mentioned that, because when I was talking to Brendan earlier, and just to mention that there's a longer interview with Brendan, and we will put that on the website, progressjuniorgolf.com, so you can obviously see that in full. But one of the things he mentioned was make sure that you express to the people who are listening the fact that the coach can be very, very important. And was that part of your decision process as well, Baylie, the fact that you spoke to your coach and thought, actually, this is someone who I think will be important to work with?
Yeah, so I spoke to about 4 colleges and like the coaches for the college, and the college that I chose, he was the one that really sold it for me over the rest of them, because the practice facilities at each of them was a big thing for me, but that they were about the same at most colleges that asked like to speak to me. But this coach had made the commitment he was organizing a bunch of like meetings to speak to me over Skype or Zoom, and he was constantly emailing, and I think he even said like a Merry Christmas email, which was really nice. But the commitment that he made in comparison to the commitment that the other coaches made, where it was just one Zoom call and then that was it, they only spoke to my agent, there was a huge difference there for me.
The other thing as well, which Brenda mentioned as well, was the coach, obviously out in the States, it needs to be someone who works well with your game, in the sense of, because you obviously already have your own coaches, and you, I don't know how long you may have had your particular coach. I know you work with Adam Myers at Northants County, but if you've been with that person for, let's say, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they know your game like, the back of your hand kind of thing. To then suddenly have a coach over in the States who sees you for 3 months and changes your swing completely, that could completely ruin your game, couldn't it? Is that something you experienced at all, Megan, or was that okay with you?
It was borderline with me. I think my coach in America was good at letting me get on with things. Like, I think he kind of trusted me a lot of the time to know what I was doing, and I was like a good practicer. But even so, there would be, he was the one that saw me play in tournaments, whereas my coaches at home obviously didn't have that opportunity. So there'd still be the occasional thing that he would maybe suggest or want me. His actual big thing was equipment. He was a big equipment tweaker, and I was like very protective. I was like, I'd rather work on my swing than change my equipment. But I would say, if you're talking to coaches now, like Baylie said, that's a good thing to try and get an understanding of, because some coaches have a much more technical grounding than other coaches, and to try and get a feel for whether they'll try and push their ideas on you, or if they'll be happy to work with your home coach is a good thing to look out for, because it is a long time to be away from your home coach, and you kind of have to have a plan in place for how you're going to work on that.
We have actually had another question which was talking about the coaching, and that's is the level of coaching you received any better or worse than what you would receive from a pro in this country?
I would say it varies a lot depending on where you go, who your coach is, but I'd say most of the college coaches have less technical sort of not understanding, that's the wrong word, but if you went for a lesson at home in the UK, you'd be looking for some technical things to work on, like an idea of what your swing is working towards. Whereas I'd say it's more about performance in America, which is why you have to be careful with, if you leave the UK in August, you might not do any work on your swing until December. And then all of a sudden you come home and your coach at home is like, what is going on here? So you just have to kind of get that balance right, I think.
We are going to talk about the education and that side of it as well, but I just want to stay with the golf. I actually got some photos of you while you were away at college, and put this up on the screen. Just what kind of memories does this bring back here?
I can't believe how young I look. That's like the thing. I mean, most people probably say I look the same now, but like you go into university thinking you're like quite old, because you've been the oldest in the school kind of thing, and then you go to college and it's like you're starting from the beginning again. But it is very cool to be part of a team, like all wearing the same outfits whenever you're out there on the golf course, and you play in order. So in tournaments, like your teammates will be the group behind or in front of you. So it's quite a nice little buzz to be able to like cheer for each other and things like that, because you don't really get that in professional golf. And you can bump into some famous people as well.
Well, I was going to say, I deliberately put that photo in there just to prove that there are some American presidents or former presidents out there who you wouldn't mind bumping into on a golf course.
Yeah, there's a picture somewhere of me with another former president that I bumped into, but I don't particularly want to find that one.
And yes, I wonder who you're talking about. The other thing you mentioned there as well is the kits that you wear now. Now, I did notice there the fact that you had 4 different colours there. I mean, you've got more kits than Manchester United, haven't you? I mean, it's...
I tell you what, it's something you take for granted, like the stuff that you get, like the freebies that you get as part of a college team is one of the biggest perks to it. Like whenever you look back now, because you just, especially your first year, you sort of turn up like the first or second week and you get, boxes and boxes of outfits thrown at you, and that goes into like workout gear and sort of tracksuits to travel in and all that kind of stuff. So it's very cool how well looked after you are.
And how many people? Obviously there's a team photo there. How many people were part of your team at the college then?
It usually varies from about 7 or 8 to even up to 12. Usually there'll be 5 players that count in a tournament for the team score, and you might take maybe 1 extra player who plays as an individual, and most coaches like to have probably about 8 or 9 is like the ideal number. So you might sort of compete against each other in practice weeks to see who's going to make the team.
Now I know, Baylie, that was one of the main reasons why you picked the particular college that you went to, because of that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So my coach made it he really made me understand that he takes 8 girls, and that's it, so that we don't have to compete against each other, and we can play at every competition, because he thinks that the experience is the beneficial part.
And presumably you haven't met or you don't even know who your teammates will be next year.
I've met one of them.
Okay, is that someone from this country? Is that someone from this country, or is that someone out in the States?
Someone from Scotland. We played in a competition together twice.
Oh, of course, because you mentioned, I think you said to me earlier that you're actually going to be you might even be traveling over there with her. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So how much, I mean, obviously the team photo that we saw there with you, Meghan, how many of those do you now still keep in touch with? Because you must have made some friendships during those 4 years that last a lifetime.
I would like to say yes, but to be honest, like I don't keep in touch with many of them, like regularly, but we all still sort of keep up with each other, and follow each other on social media and things like that. Funnily enough, the nicest story I've got about that is the tournament that I won in America this year, or last year, sorry. Randomly, one of my former college teammates was staying with her, like her aunt and uncle or something like that, about 20 minutes from the golf course I was playing at. And bear in mind, I hadn't seen this girl for, sort of like 4 or 5 years maybe, since I graduated. And she messaged me the night before the last round, and she was like, "Look, I'm 15 minutes from you. Is it okay if I come and watch you tomorrow?" So she was there like throughout the whole final round and there whenever I won. And just like, especially like for me being out in America last year, like on my own for the most part, having somebody who you've like shared all those memories with, and you can still, like appreciate each other and appreciate each other's success and each other's journeys. Like it's a really special thing to be able to do.
Now, you mentioned there the fact that you've obviously played over in the States this year on the Symetra Tour. We will come into more details about the benefits of going out there, but just the benefit of being in a different country, and how quickly or how long did it take you to get used to that? Because Florida is a lot different from Northamptonshire.
Yeah, I'm feeling that very much right now. I think I adapted quite quickly, to be honest. Like I really enjoyed having those good conditions to practice in all the time, because I've always been someone that's enjoyed practice. So if you like give me a nice, enjoyable environment, like I'm gonna kind of appreciate that. But I think for me, one of the big benefits in terms of changing country was I'd like played in all the same tournaments in the UK. I was lucky, like I got to travel with England around Europe, but you're around the same players all the time. You're in like the same system. Everybody knows what the big events are, and that like has its benefits. But I think having my eyes open to this other world where all of a sudden there's loads of other players who are at a very high level as well, I think that was just really useful for me, both in terms of confidence to kind of change comfort zone, and also just to kind of motivate you, because you realize there's a lot more players than the ones that you just see at the England events kind of every summer.
From your point of view then, Baylie, going over to the States, is that there must be a bit of a blend of excitement, but also a bit of fear of the unknown. Is that fair comment?
Yeah, pretty much hit that. I'm so excited to go, and I'm really looking forward to the experience. But it's also like my family's here in Northamptonshire. Like it's the idea of being 12 plus hours away from like my family, and my cat. I miss my cat.
Now I'm right in thinking your mum's going to go out there initially when you first go out there. I did say, now is it your birthday before, or the day before, or the day after you're supposed to the course starts?
It's the day before.
Right. So
you can have one drink.
one legal drink anyway. Yes. Yeah. So just okay. Put yourself in Baylie's shoes here, Meghan. Then when you first went out there, what kind of things is she going to have to deal with in that first week, in that first month, in that first semester? That try and give her a little bit of advice, not just to Baylie, but also people who might be listening, about what they might have to go through when they first get out there.
It's first of all, it's really cool, like listening to you, Baylie, like, and how excited you are to go, because sometimes I wish I could go back and relive all of that, because it is, it's a bit of a cliche, but it is, 4 of the best years of your life. It, just in terms of the people that you have around you and the new experiences that you can make without, all the pressures of the real world, I suppose. But I would say, in terms of being homesick and things like that, definitely like the first year and the first semester is the most exciting of all. Like, you don't have time to be homesick because you're just like thrown into this whole new world, and you know, you're trying to find your way to different classes and go to practice and then like get ready for tournaments as well. So I think, like, particularly at the beginning, it's like just enjoy every opportunity and embrace it all, because it's you don't get your first year back. You know, like by the time I got to my fourth year, my senior year, like I think I was ready to graduate. Like I'd been around the same people for a while, and you know, I was ready to kind of move on to the next thing. But it's just exciting is the main word I would use. So it's like, don't hide away from it. Like, if your friends ask you to, you know, to go for dinner and you're not sure like how you feel about it, it's like, just go and do all of those things. And because it is, you know, you are in a little bit of a bubble in college golf, and it's a very enjoyable bubble to be in. And I think sometimes you only realize that after the fact. So it is just exciting.
Now, I didn't go and play golf at college in the States, but I went out for a summer when I was 19 or 20. And the one thing which struck me about the Americans, I mean, we mentioned a former president there who probably gives them a bit of a bad reputation. But the one thing which struck me was the fact that when they say "have a nice day," now in this country, if someone said "have a nice day" to you, you'd kind of like frown and go, but they genuinely mean it. And the Americans are such a friendly nation, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the like the hospitality of, you know, of a lot of people you meet is quite genuine. And you know, people ask how you are and tell you to have a good day and all those things. And it's just like, it's, you know, if you walk past somebody and they don't smile or say hello, even if you don't know them, like, that's quite an unusual thing to happen in America. So like, you come back home and you like smile at strangers and they look at you like, you know, you're crazy. Like, what are you going to do to me, sort of thing. So it definitely is a slightly different culture, but yeah, it's a very enjoyable one. And like we were saying before, it's just getting to see all these different places and meet these different people. Like, I'm sure the tournaments that you're going to play, Baylie, are going to be all over America. So it's not like you go to play college golf somewhere and you never leave that state. You know, you get to travel all over.
Okay, now I've got a photo which we're going to put up on the screen now, and it's a photo of three people here. Now, I'm not doing this to embarrass you here, Megan. It's not from when you're at college here, but I think it's an important photo because it could be a bit of inspiration. I'm hoping for Baylie and for other people as well. If they put the photo up on the screen and now, yes, well, we can't see your face at the moment, Megan, but on the left-hand side there is someone called Meghan MacLaren. You might recognise her. The one in the middle is someone called Charlie Hull, and the one on the right-hand side is somebody called Becky G. Now, this was taken, I think, when, what would you have been, probably about 13, 14, something like that at this time.
I think so,
yeah. Yeah. Now, the reason why I think this is such an important photo here is because this is three girls. Now, both of you are from Northamptonshire. Now, for those people who are unaware of Northamptonshire, of all the counties in England, I think there are 32, 33 counties in England. There's only one which has got less golf clubs than Northamptonshire. But yet these three girls here played in this competition, as you can see, won the prizes. One of them's playing on the LPGA and played in the Solheim Cup. One of them's won twice on the Ladies European Tour and has won numerous times in other tours as well. And Becky G is someone who now works in the media as well. So it's a photo which gives hope and you know, the name of the company, ProDream Golf, going out to the college gives you these types of dreams that it is possible, isn't it? Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you look at the three of us there in that picture, like, we've all had quite different paths. You know, Charlie didn't go to college, and Becky, I think, went to university in the UK. And it just shows that there's lots of different opportunities for everyone, and college golf might not be for everybody. But the thing that I've always said is, like, if you have the opportunity, go and try it. Like, you can always come home. Nobody's gonna, you know, like, lock you in your room and tell you that you have to play every tournament. Like, you can come home. That's, you know, I play golf with somebody now on tour, Lauren Taylor, who did a year at Baylor University in Texas. and decided to finish after that, and she's gone on to play on tour and stuff. So it's, you know, it's an incredible opportunity, but you know, you don't have to enjoy it. Like, it's not for everybody, but I think just having that option there is something that you can't get here in the UK.
Now, the reason why I also use the photo as well is I remember having a conversation with you when you were, I think, 17 or 18, and your mum invited me in to have a chat about whether you wanted to go into sports journalism or whether you wanted to go into golf, and you were considering whether you wanted to go into the journalism side of it. Now, obviously, I did such a great sell on being a sports journalist that you immediately went, I'm going to go and play golf, thank you very much. But having said that, you obviously did very well, A, to get yourself to college in the States because your grades were very good to get there. But you must have done well there. And whilst you were at college in the States, how much were you thinking of the golf and how much were you thinking of the education? And this is where we kind of like move on to the different side of going to college in the States, not just about the golf, but the education side.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about this, to be honest, so I'll try not to. But I think, like, for me, looking back on it now, I actually think I got more out of my time in America from an education standpoint than like a golf standpoint. That's not to say it didn't give me tons of lessons that have helped my golf, but like that's the bit that I actually miss, is sort of learning all the time. And like, I wasn't sure whenever I went out there how much I wanted to keep studying. Like I said, I'd come off the back of some pretty intense A levels, and I was like, I'm not sure I want to keep putting myself through this. But because of the grades that I'd got, I was actually technically on an academic scholarship in America. So like, they have different ways that they can cover your scholarship, and mine was an academic one, which meant that it was myself and one other player on my team had this particular scholarship. So we were pushed quite hard in terms of our academics. Like, we had to maintain certain grades and we had to do a certain number of classes every semester. So it did, to be honest, it got quite hard. Like, it was quite intense at times trying to balance the two things. But I think that really helped me as well, because obviously time management becomes very, very important, which is only going to help you in the future. And it's certainly, I think we had quite a few companies come into like the college athletics department whenever I was there, who really reinforced that idea that a lot of companies will be interested in you if you've been a college athlete, because they understand that there's a lot of different skills required to compete at a high level in the sport while getting a degree that, like, you know, all the other students that aren't athletes or that don't play a college sport, they do the same degree that you do, but they've got, you know, double the amount of time that you do effectively. So I think a lot of companies, particularly in America, really understand and appreciate that. So you definitely get a lot more out of it than just being able to practice in good weather. You know, there's a lot of.
And from your point of view, Baylie, I've obviously put Meghan off from being a journalist, but that's what you're going to be doing as your course, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm taking a media studies in TV and video.
So with something like that, obviously, I laugh and joke at the fact that you've not got into journalism, Meghan, but you obviously have your own blog. You write a column for Today's Golfer magazine. You know, you do plenty of stuff. Actually, I think we've got some might even be a photo of you. You actually did some media work with Radio 5 Live as well. There you go. So that's your column in Today's Golfer magazine. That's you working at the Open Championship with 5 Live. So even though you haven't gone into that side of it, it must have been something which it was the backup option, and a little bit of advice here for Baylie then, in the sense, if the golf isn't going quite so well, then you can still gain something out of this, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going with my studying or how much I really enjoyed it whenever I got to college, but it really opened my eyes to like how much I enjoyed learning. If you're put into a different environment, and you have quite a lot of flexibility in America to sort of choose what you want to study as well. So you can really like start to pursue some things that you maybe haven't had the chance to do at school, you know, in the UK, but you might just see a class that kind of interests you a little bit, and all of a sudden you might find a, you know, a whole career path that you had no idea about before. I think that's quite a cool thing about university over there, is there's so many options that you can really dive into, you know, like every side of your personality. And if I hadn't kind of done that with the writing that I did in college, then I might not have had some of the opportunities that I've had in the past couple of years.
Just give us a breakdown of for both of you, if you like, of what, how much is it as education, how much is it as golf during a week?
It varies on the time of year. So you have, like, you know, in the fall semester, so from August to November, December, you would probably play 4 or 5 tournaments. So you'd leave school for a week at a time, basically. But the difficulty is that all the classes that you're in, you know, they carry on going. So even though you're out of school, you have to do the work to kind of catch up. So if you're not traveling to a tournament, it's pretty much 50-50. Like, our practices were scheduled in the afternoon, so we would have our classes in the morning, you know, leave for practice in the afternoon, and that was pretty much a typical week. And then if you want to fit in things like workouts and having a social life, then you figure out how to do that. But it's the balance is quite difficult, but you get your own routine going and you figure out what works for you.
Now we should mention, obviously, the fact that you've since gone on to become a professional golfer. You've a very successful career, like I say, double win on the Ladies European Tour. What do you think you learned then from what advice could you give to Baylie to try and, if that side of it goes well, so we'd say the education side of it goes well, if the golf side of it goes well, what can she learn trying to become a professional golfer from college?
I think there's a couple of keys for me. Like, the first one was confidence. Like I said, before I went to America, I was in the England setup, and I felt like I was always a little bit behind the people that I was competing with. So I had a slight, you know, not a chip on my shoulder, but a little bit of doubt as to whether I was good enough for the top level. And I went up to college, and like, I won quite quickly, and I became the best player on our team quite quickly. And that really helped me thrive, because all of a sudden, you know, I had a little bit of an ego boost and a little bit of, okay, like, if I'm supposed to be the best player here, then I'd better prove that I'm the best player here. And I think that really motivated me to keep working hard. And the second thing I would say for me is it really helped me self-motivate as well, because you'll have, you know, it's different everywhere you go. You might be around other players that want to turn professional. You might be around people who know that college golf is where golf's going to end for them. So you can either kind of bounce off those players in your team in terms of, you know, wanting to beat them or gaining little things from how they practice, or you have to figure out, you know, that you need to be disciplined because other people maybe aren't going to push you. And for me, that was a big thing, was kind of, as I got towards the end of my college career, I was probably the only one who had, or, you know, 1 or 2 players that had ambitions of kind of going to the next level of professional golf. So I had to work hard, and I had to figure out, okay, if my teammates are going out on a Friday night before practice on a Saturday, is that really what I should be doing? And I think things like that you can take into when you turn professional, if you turn professional, because I think you realize just what to prioritize and what's important for you.
What do you think you can learn then? So this is for you, Baylie. So looking ahead to your years away at college, what do you think that you need to get better at? What some of the things which Meghan's mentioned there, are they things which you need, perhaps even in your head now you're already thinking, I do need to work on that?
My time management. It is. I've got mocks next week for my A levels, and I don't even know how revision's going for that. But thankfully at the place I'm going to, they've kind of set out the time for this is when you obviously like they'll give you your class time schedule and everything, but they say this is when practice is going to be. We have 3 hours a week that is as a team in the gym, so I don't have to worry about trying to fit that in. But I think for me it'd be more time management of the education side.
I remember listening to another podcast you were on earlier this week, Megan, and you were talking about how it's been difficult in the last few weeks or so in the sense that the weather's not been great. Just the thing that Baylie mentioned there, the time management, it's cold, and that motivation of getting yourself up in the morning and going, oh, gee, it's different when you're in Florida to get up in the morning and think, it's a glorious day. So are those kind of disciplines that were easy to learn while you're at college, or was it something which you've really had to work on?
A bit of both. I would say the one thing I wasn't very good at was like meeting deadlines whenever it came to my schoolwork. Like a lot of classes will give you a midnight deadline to like submit essays and things like that, which for me, it's like if you tell me that it's due at midnight, I'll submit it at midnight. Like it's not like, okay, I should probably get this done the day before, or things like that. But that also I think makes you realize, okay, if this is my window of time to do something in, then I have no choice but to do it. You can't miss those deadlines, because if your grades suffer, then your coach will know. And like for me, if I ever got in trouble, like for little silly things, my coach wouldn't let me go to practice, because he knew that was the thing that I desperately wanted to do above all else. So like whenever I say about figuring out what your priorities are and kind of if you need to make decisions in your best interest rather than thinking about what other people are doing, you really learn quickly that you can't afford to mess around with things like deadlines or missing a test because you're at a tournament. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all hard work, because it's not all hard work. Like there's a lot of things to enjoy, but certainly the discipline of the structure of your days and fitting in the things that you need to fit in, that's definitely something to think about.
The word discipline I always get irony with the word discipline, because discipline can also mean giving yourself time to relax and enjoy yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know what, like actually since turning professional, that's the bit that is like the biggest challenge for me in a way, because the thing about being in college is you always have something else to like take your mind off golf, which like for me is a good thing, because like I'm very analytical, like reflective, and think about golf a lot. Like I love it so much that I'm like always either watching it or playing it or whatever. And in college, like you have to switch into school mode, or there's more social opportunities than probably you get as a professional golfer. So you're not like 24/7 golf. So it's like, it's a huge thing to learn, is to give yourself like rest and recovery time.
Now we're going to wrap it up in a minute or so. I just want to I've got a couple of photos of Baylie here. So obviously she's looking to promote herself and things like that. Now I've got two choices here. Now which one should we go for? Should we go for this photo to promote Baylie, or should we go for this one? Now, which one do you think we should be used as a profile then? How do you think that's going to go down in the States if you wear that over there?
I absolutely loved that beanie. I wore that every second I could, and in fact, I was so upset when I lost it. In fact, I'm still upset that I lost that beanie. I was still.
Sorry for bringing back bad. So just as a final point then, Megan, so obviously, what would be your final advice then to Megan or someone who's listening to A, to get to college, and also B, to when they're there, and also what they get out of it at the end of it? So
gosh, I'd say work hard, in everything you do, whether it's your schoolwork or your golf, but also to just embrace things. Like college golf gives you the chance to go and see the world in a way that a lot of your friends at school like they won't get that opportunity. You know, it's amazing. Whenever I was 19, 20, I'd been to more countries than, or, you know, more different cultures and places in America than most people get to go to in their life. So, you know, if you work hard and kind of find those opportunities, then really just enjoy them while you're there, because, you know, once you get out of college into the real world, it's a bit of a wake up call. So it's just 4 years that you want to enjoy if you get the chance to.
All right, look, I appreciate your time, Meghan. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing your pearls of wisdom of your time at college. Best of luck, Baylie, for when you go out there in August. Make sure you have a nice, good drink. Well, pubs don't have too many to drink the night before. Then if you're flying out the following day, but hope everything goes well. Well done, Meghan, for completing a full podcast out without mentioning the 2 words Q School. So well done there.
We nearly got there.
Nearly got there, yeah. And also best of luck for Newcastle this season, and let's hope that they don't get relegated.
He says, on that happy note.
That's it. Tongue in cheek, firmly there, but there you go. So, look, appreciate that. Just to mention as well that we've got some podcasts coming up, Progress Junior Golf podcast coming up on various aspects of junior golf. Next, the one we've got in 2 weeks' time is probably the biggest job and the toughest job in junior golf. What's that, Meghan? What's the biggest and toughest job in junior golf?
Yours?
Not quite. No, it's something which you've not had to do yet, but you well know what it is. Being a parent in junior golf. So we've got some people on there. We've got some people who are parents and juniors as well, who can try and give some advice about how to deal with people like these two here, and who were as good as gold, of course, when they were juniors. So it was never a problem with you two. And we've got some massive podcasts coming up on various aspects. We're going to be talking about golf equipment, golf clothing for juniors. We're going to be talking about some of the golf tours out there, golf competitions. So lots of different subjects to cover over the next weeks, months, right the way through the year. So please keep tuned in for that. Thanks very much, Meghan. Thanks very much, Baylie. And thanks very much as well to Brendan earlier as well. And have a good evening.